Breaking fucking news. Kyle Rittenhouse. For those who don't know, would you give a quick synopsis of what you know?
Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse. Kenosha, back in the summer of love, 2020. Went to Kenosha, wasn't from there. Brought a firearm with him. Decided that it was his, duty to go where the riots were happening. His goal, according to him, was to administer care, to hurt people, and to protect private business and private property. Well, he is now the vigilante we all know, and he got ambushed by a couple of people, hit over the head with a skateboard or whatever. One of the individuals had a gun. These two were pedophiles, and he shot the guy in self-defense is what his case is. And he killed one person, and he shot the other guy. It hit him in his arm. As he said in the trial, what did he say? He said he evaporated his bicep.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So that's what happened. Obviously, he is a polarizing figure. And self-defense or not self-defense? The other side saying he came with the intent to kill people. The other side is saying it was self-defense. I think it's clear as day that it was self-defense. When you strip away intention, why he was there, but the moment at hand of him getting ambushed, him on the ground and shooting the shot, self-defense.
I agree with you. Excellent synopsis, by the way. The breaking news I was stating before is that he, I believe for the first time, went to take the stand
he testified
an hour or so ago.
Yeah, and they advised him the risks of doing that, and then he got emotional.
He had full-out mental breakdown on the first try. He couldn't utter a word.
No.
Now, as someone who's been through the legal system, I've not ever gone to trial. I knew for my situation that was a stupid idea.
The closest I got to a trial was being on the jury, being asked when I was at jury duty. I made it into the courtroom, and I got to see the defendant. Anyway.
I've got opinions on jury duty, and I'll hold them for later.
I've been 3 times already. Can you believe that?
I think most jurors are probably idiots, and that factored into my head during my legal problems to why I didn't want to go to fucking trial.
You calling me an idiot?
No, not you specifically, but I think
I never made it to a jury.
There's a joke that says any juror is just somebody who wasn't smart enough to get out of jury duty. Just to say, oh, I'm racist as shit. See ya.
Okay, that's
I've
hilarious.
never been called.
I guess I am an idiot because I never found a way out of all 3 of them.
Well,
anyway,
that's your problem.
So this reminded you of your experience in the system.
When I was sitting in the sheriff's office, and for those who don't know, I a couple of years ago had a really bad opiate problem, prescription opiates, and I would go to any lengths to get them, and one of those lengths was entering somebody's home under false pretenses, taking their opiates and leaving. And I got charged, ultimately convicted, and I'm just about done with all of it. This was many years ago. I was sitting in that sheriff's office. I remember getting a call. I was pulling into a pawn shop to pawn something. Walt's Pawn on fucking 40.
Ocala.
You pass it when you come here.
Right.
And the sheriff called me, and this was months ago this happened. And
Wait, this phone call happened months ago just recently?
No. Years and years ago.
Oh, okay.
I'm like 5 years ago right now. And I'm saying, sorry, the offense happened many months.
Oh, before that phone call. Gotcha.
Correct. And sheriff called me, can you come talk, this and that? My heart sank to my stomach. I called my mom. I found out some more details. And when I was in that sheriff's office, and I was initially advised not to say anything. And whenever he asked a question, I was told by a police officer, family friend, to say, I don't want to talk to you about that. Specifically, that phrase. And when that wasn't working, I guess they had enough shit against me where you're going to jail whether you cooperate or not. And once I found that out, those kind of emotions came out of me. And I can, as much as people want to lambast it in the comments or whatever, can very much identify with Kyle Rittenhouse, who to me appears like somebody who grew up like myself and if I'm way wrong on these details, then you can lambast me, but a two-parent, regular, conservative, traditional household. And when you find out, oh God, I'm like really in legal, the deepest you can get trouble.
Yeah, murder trial.
Well, he was worse than me.
That's what I'm saying.
I was a burglary, and I had those emotions come out. And I mean, that was a very long-winded way to say that I can 100% see from my perspective, I don't think those were fake crocodile tears.
No, and not only that, when you add that element of what you just described, plus the element of the flashback of being in the moment of maybe getting killed, and then you're the one that's trying to fight for your freedom today, like, oh yeah, I mean, I could totally see a wave of certain emotions hitting you.
And I would venture to say that most human beings would love to live their entire life and probably not have ended someone else's. There's definitely your exceptions out there. There's crazy people, but the tragedy and the trauma, the very recent trauma of having to recall detail by detail when you ended someone else's life.
Right.
Yes, your limbic system kicked in and you went lizard brain and you were defending yourself. That's what more people need to understand. It's like this chemical response that would happen to every single human being if they were in that position.
I know.
Whether they succeeded or not, they would have tried.
Yeah, he had the tool to do that defending, and he acted on it. I mean, and plus, there's enough footage of the dude. He's there. You watch the videos. I can't believe that. He's got the blue gloves on. The dude goes to school for nursing. He's on camera, like with the gun, saying, we're here to do whatever. I'm here to, help any way I can, And there's one video that's out there of him being like, EMS, like breaks from the video of whoever was asking him questions. And then when you consider the argument of the other side, and they're saying he went out with the intent to kill, and you can't apply that theory of intent to the video of the whole ordeal because he's on the ground, clearly getting ambushed, and it's quoted that these people said, if we get you alone, we're gonna effing kill you. We're gonna effing tear your heart out. Very explicit stuff. And on top of that, did you see the witness on the stand?
No.
Oh, it's great. The prosecution, it's hilarious. Literally, the prosecution calls this witness up, the one who got his arm shot, his bicep blown up, and they're literally feeding him would you say, and I don't know if they were like, listen, you need to say this when we ask you this. I don't know how this all went down, but the prosecution is up there and it's going, would you say that Rittenhouse didn't pull the trigger until you were over top? They're basically just laying it out for the self-defense case, hoping probably this witness that they called would be like, no, that's not what happened. And literally the witness goes, yes. And you can see the prosecution. He's sitting there like this. Like, it's so bad. It's going very bad for them right now. So nonetheless, that was before Kyle went up. And now he went up, and it's wild.
I can't imagine. And how old is this kid? That's one thing.
He's like 18.
I was going to say, I didn't put that on the notes. But that's a huge factor. I just implore anybody who is just so willing and ready to shit on this poor kid to very much attempt to put yourself in his shoes.
For sure. Now, it's one thing to argue, should he have been there? Should he have gone there? Whatever. But that's not what's in question. What's in question is the altercation.
And let me say this for should he have been there. For those who are super out of the loop, or if it just slipped your mind, this was during the very height of the long-spanned George Floyd riots.
Yeah. Yes, riots.
And how many people more than likely traveled from way far away to attend some of those riots in favor of destroying towns and causing chaos and really just probably letting out most of their COVID frustrations out and called it, used the riot
for the
as
cause.
an excuse.
Right, and that's a good point. I wonder how many people came, did destruction from out of town. I know that was a big thing at the time. It happened in Orlando, a little protest. It didn't get into a riot. They got on the 408 and they tear gassed them and stuff, but we were a blip on the radar compared to what was going around the whole country.
You told me a story where you were at a gas station.
Oh, yeah, I was, because we were there.
Tell it.
Yeah, so we went to the Orlando protest, riot, or whatever, to see it. And let me tell you something. Mob mentality is scary in real life. We went and we were walking. Because downtown Orlando's got a lot of nightlife. Okay, so we figured, hey, let's go get a drink and let's go check out the protest because I heard there's one going down.
Why not? So
we went and, we're chilling at the what is it? I think it's the Dapper Duck, whatever. It's on Orange Ave. The protest is, they're and compared to the other ones, it wasn't that many people, but I would say it was about, 100 to maybe 200, maybe 300 in that range. I don't know exactly. And they're walking through Orange Ave in the street. And I remember so clear, because I remember also it was like, can we go to a bar during this COVID time? Like, and we were there, people were there, and they walked by, we're outside, and I'm drinking my High Life, and these people are walking by, and people are like, yeah, and this, I remember it so vividly. This woman is like, or this girl, she looked at us, everyone outside in this patio, while everyone's cheering them on in the street, and she's like, come join us then. Like, because they were cheering, she was basically like super conviction and was just screaming, come join us. And we're like, oh shit. So, I mean, it tails by. So we're like, fuck it. Let's just, let's get on the tail end of this thing. So we get on the tail end, we're walking it, and we're following it. Ended up running into someone we knew. That was crazy. They're like all about it. They're like, fist in the air. Like, and we're just kind of like, I'm recording on my phone. And I still have the footage. I'll have to show it to you. I'll send it to you. Maybe you can put it up. Yeah. And we get to a turn. We're on 50 Colonial, right by the tattoo shop, the mural, that whole area, right where Orange and Colonial meet. And I remember, I'm like, I gotta piss. And I remember we kind of came to this standstill because the cops knew that this was happening, so they had certain sections blocked off, and you could see they couldn't go any further down this way. So the mob kind of stopped for a second, and we cut across 50, and there's a 7-Eleven right there. I'm like, I gotta go piss, right? So we're like walking over. Now we're in front of the mob, but I didn't think they were gonna keep moving. Well, as soon as two people just broke form and started the new direction, they followed. So we look behind us, because what happened was we're getting to the gas station, and I'm like going to the door, and I see the attendant like run up to the door, and she's like, locks this shit, locks it right up, and I'm like, what? And we look back, and they're all coming through, and it's the gas station, the 7-Eleven with the no roof, you know what I'm talking about? They're all coming through, and then all the cops that were following on bikes, they barricade the 7-Eleven because they think that they're gonna like break in. Oh my God, bro. And the cops are sitting there, and all the people like, yelling in their faces, and I look back, and I'm like, yo, we just caused them to follow us here. Like, and they swarmed, the pumps, they were everywhere. And eventually they made their way through, and we dipped. And that was our experience. And all I can say is that was mob mentality. The mob had an energy to it. They saw two people break and move a certain direction. They said, let's go. And we weren't even telling them to come with us. I had to piss. Didn't even say a peep.
I swore, and correct me if I'm wrong, the memory is a failing bitch. You had told me like a glass broke, or there was something that happened, and you looked around and you knew that was like the fucking kindling for that mob.
Oh, right.
To ignite.
Yeah, like you could tell it was on the precipice of just violence. You could just feel it, because Yeah, like you would hear sounds, and it just took that extra push for something to happen. And luckily it never did for us. And it was very aggressive. They were, very aggressive. They were yelling at the police officers. They were yelling at people and whatever. But you could tell it was on the precipice of just full-on chaos for a minute. However, the amount of people here might have been controllable.
I'm willing
from the law enforcement side of it. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know.
I'm willing to bet if there were 250 more people there and two people got into a shoving match, hell would have broke loose.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it got tense with the police on the bicycles. And it got tense because I was sitting there like watching.
And there's a ton of bicycle cops in Orlando because there's some roads, especially at night, and this was my worst nightmare as an Uber driver, where they're calling you on that certain part of Orange Avenue that's just closed and like, come get me.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I can send this to you. We can clip it up and it can play while we talk over it. So anyway, yeah. So that's Kyle Rittenhouse for you.
All of that. Because we're supremely long-winded, but I mean, that's kind of what makes us great. To say and set all the circumstance around.
And that one was way worse. Because they were destroying everything.
To my knowledge, I had known of Kenosha as a town. Oh, Kenosha,
Wisconsin.
You make the jokes. And I'm a Packer fan, and my dad was literally born in Green Bay and then moved when he was really young.
My wife grew up in Wisconsin.
I had heard of Kenosha. I, in my head, view probably Kenosha and Ocala as relatively the same type of town. Unless Kenosha is this metropolis I don't know about.
I think you're on point with comparing it.
From the footage I saw, it looked like it took place on fucking Main Street, like in a very stereotypical neighborhood. If there was a film on Americana and we want to show the traditional, even if it's propaganda, whatever, American experience of these houses with the porches out front, typically Southern almost looking.
Yeah, and then you go through a random intersection and you got all your convenience stores and a couple of fast foods. It's like that meme where they go America in movies and it's a beautiful skyline, and then it's like America in real life, and it's just like
that picture's like after you pull off an interstate and you see, they got a fucking Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, let's stop here. So exactly. And I don't know. All I can say is it was chaos. Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't give a shit why he was there. It was self-defense.